dude, I'm recording this thing. Well, the good news is you're going to pay for that. I hope. I hope
pay
that.
for it.
You'll see. You'll see. You'll see.
Right here. Oh, you got him. Oh, good. Oh, good.
That's my thing.
All right, guys, for the crowd. Shall we go ahead and get started? Yeah. Woo! Okay, seconded, and let's start. Sadly, Octavia is recovering from flu. She's not joining us tonight, but she's on the mend, so she'll be back. But to kick us off for a fun start to the year at this special Valentine's Day edition of our meeting, we would like to have Sarah from the Emergency Hub lead us in a short activity.
I am one of your 5 co-captains of the Hub Box, which is in the park. The brown box, it's got nothing to drink or eat in it. And who cares? So, it's Valentine's Day, so I'm thinking about red. I'm thinking about blood. My first training was as a critical care nurse. And I am now, tonight, promising you that if you fill out my form and follow these instructions, you have the possibility, a very strong possibility, of having the most important resource after an. And are we gonna have one? Yes. Yes. We're gonna have a Seattle fault earthquake at any time, and it'll be violent and short, but it'll be terribly violent. Then there's a very likely chance in the next 20 years, or 500 years, we're ready for the big one that's out on the subduction zone earthquake. Okay, that's gonna start slow, but it's gonna keep going, and with every rock, it's gonna get more violent. Think of these thoughts. So think of those, imagine those things, and then I'm gonna give you an assignment. And then you're gonna turn to each other, once you figure out what the assignment is, and tell each other the hardest part about this, which is, so this is about having enough water. You can live without food for a month. We don't care about if you're gonna lose a couple pounds. That's a problem for a baby, so save the food for the babies. But for the rest of us, we can live without food, but we need water, and this will keep you alive for a month. Nobody's coming right away, just so you know. There's like no EMS, there's no, I don't know what it is. It's gonna take them 8 days to get big naval ships up here with plenty of water and services. They're gonna have to bring helicopters up from JLMB or whatever it is down there. And that's gonna be just like drops of rain. Nothing serious. So you need your own water. So if you, I'm gonna pass this out, and you get like 2 minutes to do a simple math problem. And then the hardest part is that you are gonna tell your neighbor where you're gonna stop as many gallons of water as you calculate. So that's like a little while, but of course we can't take too much time doing this, but it could save your life. So it's the most important thing to do right now. So if you don't mind, I have pencils and pens if you don't, but you might want to get your phone out if you want to do math.
While she's passing this out, if anybody has any questions about the emergency hub or how to get involved, feel free to shout them out. I know you thought you were going to get a break from all the cheering news you're getting in the New York Times, but
Okay, so, have you done your math? How many people in your family times 14? Because you need a gallon a day per person for 2 weeks. I do it for, what, 2 weeks? We should have help in 2 weeks. We should at least have water in 2 weeks. Okay, and then the hardest part, everybody, there's 3 parts to this. Calculate the number of gallons. Then you have to figure out, oh my God, where am I gonna put that in my home that won't freeze, won't get too hot, and won't get crushed if there's one earthquake happens. So you have to think it through. And of course, you should have a whole bunch in your car, because you might be out. So you should fill all your car pockets. You should have stuff in your trunk. And then, so now I want, if you know how many gallons, and for me, it's like 56. Because you've got pets, a fourth of a gallon, or use it half a gallon for a pet a day. Oh, 0.3, okay, but for maybe a dog, 0.5. Okay, so now you have to, now I want you to turn to your neighbors and tell them where you're gonna put it. And this is the hardest part, because you can buy the water. Because that's the third part, is there's a whole bunch of links down there to show you different ways to get water. Go ahead and buy it. There's several different ways to buy it, and it's on that sheet. If you want all the links to be delivered digital, if you want all the links to be digital, you'll go to the website for Friends, and you'll go up to the toolbar and you'll click on Safety, and then you'll see that there's the Madison Park Hub. There's many things under Safety. Wow, there's a lot for you there. There's the hub, and then when you go click on that, there'll be a little word called resources in our little hub section of this website. And you get all the links and more information. So ask me questions.
Do you know what the shelf life of the one gallon bottles you get at the grocery store?
You know, those bottles that are in thin white, or thin clear plastic, they're not gonna last more than 5 years without starting to degrade and
5
split.
years, okay.
But they are clean until then, but they could split if they get jerked around a lot. So that's why you might wanna look at the other alternatives there. And I'm recommending, if you feel like you don't mind spending some money, get cans of 50-year water in the hot top. You'll never need it. And they're easy to stack and hold, put in all different kinds of places. They're on the bottom. They're on the
couple of people.
And 1 gallon.
All right,
Thank you very much.
yes. All right, PowerPoint, goes on. Like Brenda said, Octavia is sick tonight, so we're gonna keep the president's, can't see the slides either, here, wait, let me see, okay. Yeah, we're gonna keep the report a little bit short. We have some, calendar dates to share with you. We're gonna be going through on slides. We have Little Beats. I hope people are attending that on the weekend. The next one coming up is on March 1st. We have the Easter egg hunt on April 5th. And then, oh, sorry. I was just going through some dates, and then we'll go back. Sorry, go ahead, go back. Sorry, I just saw a bunch of dates on there, so. Oh, no, and that's the meeting date. So hopefully everybody has seen our new time and day for meetings, and when they are, and those are on our website under events.
At least through the first half year, they'll be in this building. They may move to Pioneer Hall in the latter half of the year, so just check. Of course, this building's locked, you don't just walk down to Pioneer Hall.
Yeah, same parking spot. Okay.
Great.
Oh,
No, also Diane is sick, who's our treasurer, not suspicious at all. But I would say that we remain in good financial status from the fundraiser last year, and we're going to continue fundraising this year for all the projects that we have. And we'll get into some of those events right now.
Yes. Oh, okay, so we are skipping. We're gonna skip that one, that's Diane. Okay.
Meg Bartley here? Quite smart.
Oh, yeah, is Meg here?
Let's
No.
take it to Little Beats Concert. So Little Beats Concert Series has been a great success. It's concerts for kids. They're happening in Pioneer Hall. The last one had, I think, 140 people in attendance. So they are a real hit. There remain some in the series. So if you've got a little person that you would like to take, then I would highly recommend them.
Yeah, and they're different performers every month, so check the schedule online and please attend. Spring cleanup on May 3rd. That's just a show up and work type thing. We provide some tools. You can bring some of your own tools and gloves and things like that, but we get some things from the city, bags and things like that, so it's pretty easy. I think we got some time before May, so put that on your calendar for sure.
By the way, these are great volunteering opportunities. I would be remiss if I didn't say, the ways that you can help Friends of Madison Park are, number one is just to volunteer at events that would interest you. The spring cleanup's very fun. It's just like show up for a couple hours, help clean up. You get the little kid service, you get rake claws, bring kids, put them to work. It's a good way to tire them out, and pick up leaves and other things to get us ready for spring.
We get great pictures of you while you're doing that.
I'd like to be even more involved, help coordinate it, make it run smoothly, distribute hot chocolate, that kind of thing, then feel free to email our new volunteer coordinator,
Yes,
Celia.
introduce you.
Yes.
Get familiar with me, I'm Cecilia, I'm the new volunteer coordinator. My background is in human resources, so I'm super excited to use my skills to help connect the community and get everybody involved with volunteering. So very excited to work with all of you.
Yay.
She's already doing an amazing job, and if you have any questions, just email her at volunteer@friendsofmadisonpark.com.
Yes, anybody can go there. Easter egg hunt. Like I said, that's on April 5th. We're doing a little early this year. I know that seems early, but the next 2 weekends bookend spring break. So we were afraid we were gonna lose people from being out of town. So, we don't want anybody to miss out. Last year it was a really huge event. This year we are planning for more people. More eggs, more face painters, more treats, more all of that. We've already got some amazing, donations from local bakeries, and we have Red Wagon has agreed to sponsor it, and we also have some other sponsors interested, so it's going to be really exciting. And if you'd like to volunteer for that, we could use help with setup, we could use help in planning. There's going to be a craft table, which is really cute, where you can help kids put together little Easter bunny ears. We're going to have some live music. I may need somebody to put on an Easter bunny costume. I'm not going to lie, our Easter bunny moved away out of state, so might need that. But if you're interested, let us know.
Yeah, that is a huge event, I think. If you know any business that would like to do more sponsorship, let us know. Local celebrity Macklemore attended last year, so you know this is an in-demand event.
Anybody can make sure that the weather is as perfect this year as it was last year. It's going to be awesome. I've heard there's some sort of weather control ability, so let's do that. We're going to do, wait, no.
Kip, would you like to speak to the garden tour? Sorry,
Yeah,
put you on the spot.
sorry.
Sure, just for a second.
Here, somewhere.
Last year we did our first garden tour from Madison Park. We're going to do it again this year, and it's going to be on June 7th. We are right now reaching out to talk to homeowners to volunteer their gardens, and we will need as many volunteers as possible. So We will have a volunteer coordinator, and I'm not sure about all that yet. Yeah. So we can always use volunteers. Most of that would be just like being at a garden and just hanging out. You don't have to be a horticulturist. You don't have to know anything about the garden. It's mostly just being a presence. Last year, I think we had a total of like 15 gardens. This year, I think we're looking more like 10 or so. People couldn't get to all the gardens, so we're gonna be doing it in June, which is a little later than we did last year. It was great last year. We raised about $5,000. We weren't expecting to raise much, but we raised about $5,000 for Friends of Madison Park. We're gonna do it again, and I think that's it. Any questions? Okay, great, thanks.
We do not have a slide for this one, but there is an artisan market hosted at Parlor Wine this weekend on Sunday. It is before the Super Bowl. I don't think the Super Bowl starts till 3:30, so you can pop in there. It's Valentine theme, but they're going to have live music. There's going to be wine pairings. There's going to be local small businesses selling their artisan wares and some food vendors as well. So put that on your calendar to stop by before the big game.
The next project is, next slide, Beautify Madison Park project. We would love, I think Octavia would love kind of more volunteers for that. It's been a huge success so far in terms of fundraising for the planters that you see around Madison Park. Additionally, kind of cleaning up, I think there's potentially going to be a planter put around kind of the bumpy sidewalk near the pharmacy. They've got a solution for that. I think there are other aspects of that project that will be unveiled this year, and then fundraising around those. Oh, yeah, thank you, please.
Well, I can't remember the number, Octavia always knows these numbers, but what did we plant, like 500, 600 bulbs?
600.
How many?
600.
600. See, you guys are all on top of these Beautify projects. 600 bulbs will be coming up, and so we'll look forward to that in April. Is that when that happens? May? I think so. Sometime.
Well,
We were all not the expert.
yeah, if anyone would like to be involved in that, I think that we could always use more volunteers to help. Just, if there's other ways that you would like to be involved in the Beautify project, let us know.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
We'll find something for you. Music in the park?
Oh, yeah, I'll talk about Music in the Park. Hi, everyone, my name's Emily. I work on Music in the Park for the last couple of years. It's returning this August, so Thursday evenings in August from 6:30 to 8. There's 4 this year, not 5, so that's one less thing for coordinate for me. But we'll have some great bands. It's been really exciting this year. It's our first year that we're getting a lot of people coming to us, asking to play. So our name is getting out there a little bit, so we've kind of created a form. So if you know people who are interested or in bands that you think might be a good fit for Music in the Park, have them get in touch with me, and we have an online form that we're taking down everyone's information so we can kind of do an assessment and figure out who we want to have in place. And then other than that, we are really looking for volunteers, not to have that again, but we have a lot of roles. You can help day of, help with setup, you can sit at the table. We have great sponsors who we are hoping will come back this year, so you can help us coordinate with sponsors. And then we have a lot of planning roles that we need help with. So really any capacity, if you're interested in working on Music in the Park, we would be happy to have you. Yes, so we do have,
Oh, I was just gonna ask, could you elaborate on the time commitment of what someone could expect if they were a volunteer?
yeah, that's a great question. So right now, if you are interested in being on committee, we meet once a month right now for about an hour. So it's a pretty low time commitment, kind of in these early months. As we get closer to August, we'll increase the frequency of those, but it's nothing too, we don't try to burden people too much, but then if you're interested in working the day of the event, we have in past years had some volunteers who work setup, some volunteers who work breakdown, and then some who stay for the duration. So kind of depends on how much time you're willing or you want to spend there. If you want to spend an hour helping us get set up and then enjoy the concert, that's great. If you want to hang out at the
tent with us for an hour and a half during the concert. That's also great. So, yeah, lots of different varieties of time commitments too.
Who here has attended any of the concert series? Okay, great. Well, hope to see you all again this year. Hope to see the rest of you there this year as well.
And you bigger and better. This is the
Yeah,
third
this
year.
is our third year. We're gonna have a stage. We had a stage last year, but we are bringing the stage back. We're gonna have kind of more signage, perhaps some lights. We're getting a new stage setup. So in past years, bands have all had to bring their own equipment and things like audio, audio, sound, all that stuff that they need. And that's been a barrier for a lot of bands who don't have that. And so this year we are going to have someone come who brings all that and helps them get set up. So it's kind of elevating our listening experience, if you will.
Can I just give a plug, because not many hands went up? It is really, really fun to go out on a Thursday night. You're in the park, you have something to drink, you have, something to eat, sorry, and then maybe something to drink. And it's just lovely to hear the live music. If we get good weather, it is so much fun. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your grandkids, bring your neighbors. It just is lovely to be outside and you've got live music. If you haven't attended before, try and make it. It really is lovely. Thursday night, every Thursday night in August.
This sounds wonderful. What are the hours again?
Starts at
6:30 to 8.
6:30 to 8, and they start pretty promptly, they end pretty promptly, but they're just so relaxed. If you come late, it's fine. If you leave early, it's fine. It's just a very, very casual neighborhood. You're probably gonna see people that you know, your neighbors, your friends. It just is just a lovely event, and I've gone long, like when we had them years ago before the pandemic, and since then, I've been going. I just want to give it a plug because I just love it. I love it. You love it, so.
You can bring just a blanket, or you can bring, I've seen whole, like, setups of little tables with, tablecloth and things, so anything that.
I think it's over a 100-year-long tradition of our neighborhood to do some concerts in the park. So this is the renaissance of, a very long tradition in Madison Park.
Yep.
So thanks.
Thanks, Emily.
Now, we're talking about party.
Oh, Party for the Park. This seems like it's a really long way up. It seems like we just wrapped this up and it was so fun. And so did anybody, since we're raising hands, did anybody attend Party for the Park? All right. All right. Well, it was a really good time. I think that all of you who attended can agree. We raised $115,000 for Friends of Madison Park, which is much needed, especially moving into some of the bathhouse renovation work that we're getting ready to start doing. Funding things like the Children's Parade and the Little Beats and helping with the music in the park and all of our events. So it was a great time and it was for a good cause and raised a lot of money. And we are working on it for this next year. So if anybody is interested, again, it's early, but we are getting sponsors on board already before they spend their $2,025. And also, working with the venue, have to change things up a little bit this year, but it's getting really exciting. So anybody who wants to be involved, please email, volunteer at Friends of Madison Park. And there's all kinds of different time commitments on that as well. There's just the planning time commitments. There's reaching out to sponsors and working with the sponsors. There's procuring silent auction items and live auction items. And then there's also setup, day of, and working at the event, selling raffle tickets, checking people in and out, things like that. So we have all kinds of different levels of time. So just let us know what you can commit.
Is there a date?
What was the
Is there a
date?
date? Yes, it's not totally confirmed yet, but we are almost there. It's September 27th.
If anyone knows of a major Seattle event, religious event, sports game that conflicts with that date, please tell us now. We've done our best to contact that.
Yes, we have checked and checked and checked. We've checked our school calendars and, all the things. So it is our intention to pick a date that works for everyone. September 27th. And if it changes, again, we're trying to get this confirmed within the month of February. Yeah.
Sweet. And next slide. If you did not hear the event that you wish we were putting on, there are other events and things that we have talked about doing, but perhaps we need a critical mass of people that would really like that thing to happen. in order to make it happen, I think one that we hear a lot about is yard sale. You know, obviously Montlake has kind of a conjoined annual yard sale. It's something that we could do. I think if people are interested in that, I would love to kind of get you connected. There have been author series in the past, and I think that the new ownership of the bookstore is going to work with us on an author series. But we would love to have anyone that's interested, any authors in the room, anyone that's interested in helping to get great authors here and just talk about great books.
And that's not to replace the book club, which we know is really popular over there, so different event, but yeah, please attend that too.
The businesses, I think, are expecting again to put on the Halloween trick or treating that they put on every year. But we might try to just support them in doing that. Thinking about maybe closing a couple of side streets so kids could trick or treat without cars in one of those places. Would love additional help there. If there's any other events, we would love just to hear your suggestions, and of course, we'd love to have you involved as organizers yourself.
What's happening with the farmer's market?
That's a great question. It is still in limbo, where it is in limbo with SDOT, it's a short story. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I don't know if this has been talked about before, but is there any way, or is there the possibility of like improving our Madison Park sign? And I know we just went through the whole thing with the Wells Fargo sign and this huge monolith, and now it's gone, and now it's still big. But is there any talk about improving the Madison Park sign and maybe lighting it and updating it, making it look a little more current? Is that something?
To compete with the Wells Fargo sign?
We don't need to compete with them, but it'd be nice if it were just a little more amplified, and I don't know if that's something on the table or not.
We've definitely talked about it. That is owned by someone. I think it would need to go through them, but
That land is owned by someone? That parcel?
I think it's part of the city.
yeah, it's a little spotty around there, but we did get a map of what's owned and what's not. And I think the sign is owned. I thought it would be really great if we can even have like a little informational thing below it, you know, saying like an event that's coming up or, you know, something like that, but in a very capable way. So definitely put it on the list. It's in the minutes. That is a great idea. And would you like to spearhead that project?
I'm part of the Beautiful Madison.
Well, there you go.
Maybe
Okay,
so.
so get back to us on that.
Okay, well.
That's a great suggestion.
And maybe we can also get some sign regulations so the banks don't engage in one-upsmanship with each other.
Somebody actually sent us one that was written in 1997, and it was a really great read, and clearly nobody has that.
It was from this organization. It was this organization had, yeah.
Or like the past, yeah. the
Issued
past
guidance
ones.
to the businesses.
Yeah. The photocopy. That's all you.
Yeah, with that, actually, this is me and Kevin. I will say that.
But I broke it, I broke the slide, so.
Hey, Rob, okay, we
So
have
you
an
could
hour.
just, no, you could just talk about it.
Great. So, as Becky mentioned, some of the reason that we're raising money is that we're working on a long-term project, long-term, to focus on a renovation of this building to be more of a community space potentially. So right now, this space is in a long-term lease and has been leased since the 1970s by a preschool, which is an amazing preschool. My kid goes here. But it includes a lot of other uses, and we have to have a member of the preschool be here, which conveniently is me for the time being. But when we're doing sort of these events, and I think that we would dream of having something that's maybe a little bit bigger, so maybe there could be like a yoga class or something like that. Additionally, there's obviously not a great connection between this park and the park that's right next to it. There's not like even a painted sidewalk, which is kind of surprising. And then the beach is great, but really hasn't been updated since maybe the 1960s too much. So I think that there could be an opportunity to restore some of the, maybe like sunlighting the dock, for example, which would be better for the native fish. We can make a nicer beach. We can make a beach that's as nice as our neighborhood, I think is the vision. So we have been working on that. We've been working with the Seattle Parks Foundation as well as the Seattle Parks Department. We're kind of gradually wending our way through that process. We have support from a great landscape architect that did like the Maidenbower project in Bellevue. It's called QEA Anchor Landscape Architects, and we're meeting with some architecture firms that have commercial experience in order to sort of like think about what is feasible for this building, because actually this building is already taller than would be allowed by code. So, there's a lot of process to wend through. So if you're experienced with dealing with the city, if you're experienced with large gifts fundraising, which will be required soon in order to take on a project of this scope, any of those things, and you're interested in getting involved in kind of what this park could look like in, a future iteration, that would make it would take kind of what's great about it, not change it too much, but just make it a little bit more usable by all the members of the community. Would love to have your involvement. The next steps are really, just kind of meeting with architects. We'll be applying for some grants, so I should also ask if anyone has experience applying for city or state grants. We'll be going for the neighborhood matching grant as our first grant coming up. And then that will lead to kind of the next phase of the project. So again, there's no like drawings out there that people aren't seeing. This is just an idea at this point. And then we're working on soliciting the community feedback, seeing what people like, what they don't like, what they want out of this park, and then figuring out where that leads us in terms of how much we need to fundraise, what we would need to do. So this is probably a 5 to 10 year effort, but anyone that would like to be involved for that long haul or just a short stint, please let us know. On that note, Kevin, in the meantime, by the way, we're like, could we not make the park a little bit more pretty in the meantime? And to answer that question, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Yes. So we've also engaged with the Parks Department. They have a thing that's very specific. It's called Friends of the Park, which basically sounds like it's a group of volunteers that does the park's work. And so I'm trying to get all you lovely volunteers to help me weed. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm working with the Parks Department. For some reason they've ghosted me lately, but I am trying to split our park into areas and try to have a constant going through it and trying to keep it cleaned up. We'll definitely have like 3 kind of big cleanup, one in the spring, probably one in the summer and one in the fall, where we just kind of try to keep it and get it as clean as possible. But I want to do plantings. I mean, some of our plants are pretty old, some of our trees are new. So I want to try to get the community to help me out and get this going. And so the theme of the day is we need volunteers. I probably went breaking protocol. I'm not going through her. I've got a QR code if you want to scan it and go fill out a form and give me your email. That way I can like have communication. I also am looking to have like a cool name for our group, like, some of the Madison Park Warriors or something like that. We can get a t-shirt. So this is my pitch. I'm going to put signs around, especially like at some of the high-rise where I know people have talked to me about like cleaning up, and try to get volunteers that way. So keep an eye out for more of this QR code or my volunteer coordinator over there. And we should be doing one early in spring. So thank you.
I'll say the great news is that this has already prompted the city to hydro-seed. You might have noticed that the city re-hydro-seeded the beach as part of, I think that brought to their attention that we would like to have some focus on the park. And then I believe they are replacing, or in the process of replacing the irrigation, so hopefully the grass will be able to live through another summer. Does anyone have any questions about any of that?
I have a question about your last one, the long-range plan. What's that committee called?
It's a long-winded name. It's the Madison Park Bathhouse Renovation and Shoreline Restoration Committee.
You need a really cool acronym.
Yes, this is, there are a lot of consultants at these architecture firms that help advise on the right words to use to trigger the right grant sort of thing.
So volunteering through that?
Yes, Cecilia, you can
Yes.
go around into
You
that.
can go around each of them, or you can go direct to the source.
You can just go to me, your neighbor.
We'll do that too.
But, yeah.
I just have a question. Are you talking about all the parks or just the park?
I'm focused on this one in particular.
The beach,
First up,
the
the
beach or the one over the beach or the one by where the kids play?
As far, like, this is from my perspective, like, this is the area that I'm focused on. I definitely thought, like, on the sidewalk there where it kind of gets overgrown would also be on my list. This is also, if you join my committee, we can reprioritize, because it's a committee of one right now. But what I was trying to put here is, I'm trying to, in my mind, I basically prioritize it in that way. So right by the bathhouse, right here out front is where people like join this place. I want that to look the best. And so I want to prioritize that. And then, just kind of moving around. 6 for me was here. Now, do you want to go work on the I'm all for it if we get more people, but just you and me aren't going to be able to do all that.
I can't even do my own yard. How big are your ambitions?
My ambitions are huge, and they are going to be crushed.
Sorry.
Don't worry, if you can't volunteer, you can always spread the word and donate. Yes. Because I will say, I think it's some small portion of the Beautify Madison Park funds make, the city theoretically is gonna provide native plans that should do well throughout the summer into some of the areas to try to help this out. But to the extent that the city cannot come through because the city is also in a major budget deficit, as you may have heard, we may do some of those plantings with some Friends of Madison Park funds. Which leads us, that city business leads us into our next spicy topic. Shall we go to the next slide?
I have this one.
Oh, great, it's up, okay, we're already up. So as many people probably know, Seattle is currently engaged in their every decade process of reevaluating what they want the future of the city to look like, and really that just means, well, how are they gonna rezone in various areas? The consequences for Madison Park are that its initial proposal to essentially upzone some areas of the downtown Madison Park corridor and a couple of the streets. This process, I think, is kind of easy to get lost in the news of everything else that's happening. So, but it's kind of coming pretty quickly that this initial phase of the plan will be voted on by the city council. I suspect there are people in this room that know better than I sort of the next steps. The city council will be looking at the plan, and then I think, frankly, kind of like changing the plan as they get feedback from various neighborhoods. We have minor resolutions to talk about.
I wanted to show,
Yeah,
so
thank you.
not a lawyer, don't know what I'm doing, but I read what they had, and I just kind of stole images off the web from Ballard, because I thought they kind of like would be similar. And so what I'm trying to do here is highlight the changes. So these green areas on this picture are showing, that basically it's residential housing, and it's going to be upped to now allow for 3-story or townhouses. So residential, now it's going to go to 3-story townhouses. So that kind of gives you an idea of what they would be looking at. And then they're to be cynical, because, you know, my personality has to come out. I put here, because we have those cute houses that are there, those would be the type of things that somebody would be able to sell and then put up one of these 3-story things. So that's to be aware of that. Then the next group, which is this area here, and I can't really see, but it's residential now, and then that would move up to mostly townhouses and 4-story apartments. So, you know, now you get an idea. It's a much taller, larger building. And I think you guys could probably talk about the parking aspect too, because I know that'll be controversial. And then finally, these sections here, those are residential now, and mostly will go to 4- and 5-story apartments with some townhomes. So this one would be more focused on the bigger buildings. The one previous was probably a mix of townhouses and the 4-level apartments, and then the other area. And the other thing that Octavia told us last time is like, just because this happens doesn't mean they're going to force it down our throats. It's just when somebody sells, it now becomes their opportunity to make that decision. That's as much as now I'll shut up and let you guys go.
And there are some zoning laws that are already in place for buildings to be able to go up higher than they are currently. So this is just maybe taking it up a little bit more. And there are some, there's lots of really long documents that you can read about this online, if anybody would like to do that. I think Octavia was reading the environmental study that was 1,500 pages. So, you know, that didn't really include our area, taking into account lack of storm sewers and water going into the lake and contaminating, things like that. But I think that we're just trying to act as advocacy for our neighborhood, not saying like this is bad, you know, it's not gonna happen overnight, but also just being aware of what is being planned and maybe being able to give some feedback and suggestions, especially about the environmental aspects, just to make sure we are included in that document.
Well, I think beyond the environmental aspects, which are pretty powerful in California, so I've seen what this does. There was a study that was done some time ago by here that looked at the infrastructure capabilities of this area and noted that the infrastructure capabilities of this area, to put it bluntly, to handle that many new toilets, frankly, wasn't there. So acquiescing to this is kind of like looking forward and saying,
ways that people can provide feedback. So I'll just add to what Becky was saying. You know, a few things. One, clearly we have the good fortune of having a city that's growing and a city that is not affected by climate change in the awful way some other cities are. So I think that there's many good things about growth. I think there's also scary things about change, and there's ways that we would want this change to happen, you know, given our brothers. I think there's a number of different concerns I've heard from people in this room and online about, you know, how they would like to see the change happen and or not happen, frankly. So I think, you know, what are the ways that you can get feedback, I think, is number one. So number one is, I think, just reaching out to Councilwoman Joy Hollingsworth, who represents our district. She's been a phenomenal resource. She grew up here. She grew up in Madrona. She's, you know, came down to this beach as a kid, and so I think, and has been to our neighborhood and been to these meetings many times. So she's been extremely responsive, and I think kind of understands, you know, a lot of the concerns that her constituents have. So that would be my number one recommendation. There's also a series of meetings coming up, which you'll have the opportunity to testify. And so I'd encourage people to go onto the city council's website. Some of those meetings times have moved around recently, but I would say, you know, your opportunity to show up at those meetings, I think, and be voices to share what your concerns are, and frankly, to talk to your neighbors and see what concerns they have would be also extremely valuable. As Kevin mentioned, I think just one point was that a number of these areas, like for example, Park Coastal is already zoned to be much taller than it is today. So some of this, you know, rezoning of zones that already are not fully built up, you know, reflect the very expensive cost of building in Seattle, as well as kind of what is just financially feasible here. The entire state also had a bill passed a few years ago called like the Missing Middle Bill, which basically says that really any residential lot in the city, including in Madison Park, can already be split into a duplex and has different regulations. So some of that rezoning was already done, it was out of Seattle's hands, and is already in place here. And the reason that doesn't happen in Madison Park, you know, just candidly, is that in general, the structures on the land are so valuable that it's just not economically feasible to redevelop in the first place. So, you know, even if some of this rezoning goes through, I would just like to reiterate, you know, remember that it also has to make financial sense for people to do that thing here in the first place. And one of the things that we can do, of course, you know, to get the sort of buildings that we would want and to get the change we want is to continue to make our neighborhood beautiful and to continue to work together as friends of Madison Park and as neighbors to, I think, collaborate and kind of like build the change we want together over time. Again, this is a 10-year plan. But with all that context, maybe we could turn it over to 30 seconds, just kind of questions and concerns. I know this is on people's minds.
If I could jump in
Yeah,
real
please.
quick, just so I've gotten the question a lot from a few new faces to our group about what's being done. Are there people already talking? And the answer is yes, there is a committee that is being built that has, I believe, around 6 members right now. Interest has been shared, so I am also, part of my duties of helping to make sure everybody who cares about this, wants to get involved, is connected. And once we've made a little bit more progress with defining clearly, here's our voice as Madison Park, here's how we want to work with the city, here's our concerns in a list, then we're going to need a lot of volunteers to help, like Brendan mentioned, go to the meetings and help spread the word out. So that's kind of the action that we've been taking so far to answer that question.
And we're not the only neighborhood that's dealing with this. Montlake is also dealing with it. Madrona, where are you coming from? Montlake, yeah.
I would say every neighborhood in the
Every
city
neighborhood.
is, you know,
And there's concerns from lots. I mean, again, growth is good, but there was also a concern that like they weren't taking into account all of our multifamily or multi units, existing apartments and multifamily units along 43rd. That wasn't really included in the documentation that you know, some of our people have seen that have read it. So, you know, just going back to them and being like, hey, why don't you include this type thing? You know, some of the feedback that I know has been given and, you know, could be given more.
also a good time for your infrastructure wish list. Like I'm letting you know that I would really like a bike lane on Madison. So, you know, there's also some trading, horse trading that's mentioned here.
Well, before we go open it up really quick, there is a place on the website where you can give feedback directly to Joy. Oh, is it on there? Okay, perfect. So that gives you like a little starter, just to like help you get going, and you'll probably rewrite a lot of it, but just to help you get some words out there, you know, not coming from us, Bill.
Sorry, that will be up tomorrow.
Oh,
This
sorry,
is, there's a petition, it's more, yeah, it's a petition that our team has set up, but there will also be, you can go to that website, friendsofmadisonpark.com, and then on the One Seattle plan, there will be this information, there's some of this information there already, and then there will be, as Becky was just saying, an opportunity just to click it and email Joy.
And give your word. Yes.
I believe tomorrow is the city council meeting that they're discussing.
Sally was saying it's at 11 a.m. It got moved the time, so if anybody would like to go. I don't think Octavia is up to it yet, health-wise, and I don't think that, yeah.
Do you know if the committee that's formed is gonna go and testify?
A lot of them are not available at 11 o'clock, because it just
This
changes.
may be the only chance.
Is there a document that they've drafted so far that another representative who would go could share? So it's not one person's opinion?
Yes, I think the petition that Octavia put together, she was trying to basically reflect a bunch of the different concerns that she had heard, so I think without sort of, but hearing all of them, so I think that petition, I think, is the document so far.
I think it's been, I
great
got one,
information.
I got one sent to me by email, so I think it's out there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it is.
Is there a virtual option? Does anybody know for the city council meeting?
Yes, there is. If you go online, you can sign up to attend the hearing tomorrow, which is at 5 p.m. online.
Just changed it to 11.
In the morning.
See, this is good, this is why we have these meetings.
Yeah, I looked at it like today, I believe it's 5 p.m. Let's check right now.
I saw 11.
So while she's looking at that, you mentioned earlier about the meetings that the city council's having.
Well,
Is
maybe,
it every meeting that they have, or are there specific ones related to what we're talking about?
I would say this next meeting, I think, is the most relevant meeting coming up, and I'm not sure when the follow-up meetings about the topic are.
I know tomorrow's is the most relevant.
I believe, well, let's check the city council website, which perhaps we should have done before we got here, but I appreciate that we're doing it live.
And is Joey gonna be there? Joey
Yes.
Hollingsworth gonna be
Yes,
there?
yes.
She's on the committee.
She is the city council, she's our city
could I
council.
also make a comment? Because, I mean, in addition to the zoning changes, which, might not be that big a deal, because only some things fit on a lot, but there's a requirement that you don't have to have a parking space for every unit. And, and so it's like one, and you can put 4 units on a lot, and you can do the ADUs too, which are accessory dwelling units, and you don't have to have any parking for them. And so the impact on our neighborhood, when we have a thriving retail business, restaurant shops that need parking, and we have a beach and a park and all these things, is really a big deal. And I think that they are proposing the citywide, this is what they're gonna do, but I think there's some neighborhoods, and we're not the only one, that's just not gonna work. I mean, we won't have, you can't even imagine what it's gonna be like if.
Yeah, no, I think we've heard also concerns about tree cover, I mean, I think that,
So
again,
I
I think
think the
there's.
parking is an issue, and also, there's no reason to think that some of these smaller dwelling units they're talking about wouldn't end up being Airbnb units and not for people to live in anyway, so.
Well, and like we were saying, infrastructure part of it, like if they don't have rapid drive or like some sort of mass transit, there's only 11 bus that might not be sufficient for.
Right, anyway, so I just want, I think that.
All valid concerns.
I'm concerned that somebody should be saying something tomorrow, but.
It sounds like volunteering to me.
I
Gotta
know,
say
you
up front.
make it. We appreciate
If
it.
you want to see
Oh,
what
sorry,
this would.
I'll go to you, just one moment, sir.
For the rezoning, does any of that impact like how much space we have set to like parks or Pioneer Hall or like what is meant to be businesses, or is it just impacting stuff already zoned as residential?
The business district will still remain zone business. Pioneer Hall is owned by a 501c3, so that will not change.
Great.
The parks land is owned by the park still, so that won't change.
Perfect.
So, yeah, so,
But people will come, not.
no, it's mostly just there more density within the existing zoning categories, I think is a fair way to characterize the effect on our area.
And sorry, a follow-up to that, would there also be the possibility of like putting apartment buildings above the current business row?
Yes, that is, I think the city's intention is to have more ground floor retail,
Got it.
which I think is cute, but others don't like, so. Top
If
positive
you
out.
want to see what this might look like, you can go up Madison and take the first right after Broadmoor. It winds down about 200 feet or so, and if you turn left there, the corner of that block is exactly, if I understand right, what the proposal is going to look like.
So like against the Broadmoor fence right there?
Well, there's a street in between, but it's a 4-story thing, and you notice not much space between anything there.
No, and that's a concern for tree coverage, like Brendan was
Yeah.
saying, if they let you take the building all the way to the edge of the lot and there's no space. there's no
2-foot
clearance.
setback, I understand.
Yeah, the setback.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Seattle did put in place the FAR regulations a few years ago. They tried to preserve neighborhood character. You guys might be familiar with some of those changes. We prevented like some of the largest houses from being built on the lots, but some of that I think is if there's a land use attorney in here that would like to pipe up, feel free, but some of what you're describing, those boxy homes, I think actually are part of the state's missing middle bill, which allows some of that type of housing to be built, regardless of the zoning in the city. But,
We pulled up the Seattle City website here, and it says that there's actually 2 meetings tomorrow. So this might, Sally, this might solve your problem here. There's 2 meetings tomorrow. There's a comprehensive plan elements meeting at 11 a.m. and then there's the public hearing at 5 p.m. So you're both right.
Change the hearing. But you wonder, but people can go to council.
I think they'll probably give information about the plan, right? Maybe at 11, and then the public hearing would be probably where you're testifying. I'm just sharing this information because I had shared that it changed to 11. So.
yes, but you can also, I will put this on the spot, you can email her and she will help connect you to the group that's been working on this in a more, more concerted way, and has consulted with land use attorneys and some environmental attorneys just to think through some of these various concerns. Anyone else have kind of quick points they'd like to share with everyone, questions?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing here, it sounds like there's not anybody from the Friends of Madison Park that's going to testify tomorrow, is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
As a community organization, we do have to, I'm just going to say it, we do have to be kind of careful. There is a fine line of being opinionated. We do have to be kind of neutral. We want to give the information, but I mean, why?
Oh, well, we're a 501c3, so I think that we can, we can take.
Why?
No, and the answer is that we can, well, 2 reasons. One is that we represent the whole community, so we try to take in, there's some people that want, I think there's some people in this room that probably want no growth, there's some people that want some growth, under certain circumstances, there's some people that want a lot of growth. And I think that it is certainly what we would like to do, I think is one, we're hearing a lot of these concerns, and I'll be honest, like there's more on the concern side than that are like, let's have unbridled growth. I've not heard let's have totally unbridled growth as an opinion, so I think that we are working to echo that. So while no one's attending that meeting, we'd certainly be in communication with Joy, and Joy is planning a couple of visits to the neighborhood with this topic particularly in mind. And so I think that by connecting to this particular committee, you'll also have the opportunity to kind of communicate with Joy about this topic more directly. And then, but we also are 501c3, so we cannot actually, take particular stances.
We
specific
can't
stances on
lobby. We
specific
can't lobby. I mean, as a 501c3, there are rules.
Well, I understand 501c3 stuff.
Good, I don't that much,
But
but.
that does not mean that you cannot convey opinions, ideas, input, thoughts, any of that.
And we definitely are working on
Petition
that.
too, like part of the petition, and also like the impact is like, if Joy hears from 7 of us in this room, that's a very different impact than hearing the same opinion from Friends of Madison Park. So I think like, yes, they're doing their part to like relay opinions through petitions and things like that. I also think it's a great opportunity for like us as citizens of this area to like make sure that we're talking to other Congress people or our city council as well.
And we have had people pouring through documents, yes. We do have people that are pouring through documents, like I said, hundreds of pages of documents and reading everything. And just, Octavia has been to many of the planning meetings where they've given lots of information, and it's tough to get your questions answered because this is a citywide thing. It's not just Madison Park, and to show up and just ask questions about Madison